Today in our 2018 motorhome on our F-53 chassis, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the SumoSprings Maxim custom helper springs for the rear axle. Part number SSR-187-54-1.
This is what our springs look like when they're installed. These are not going to replace any part of your suspension. These are actually going to be added to your suspension to give it more support. What our springs are going to do for us, they're going to help reduce body roll and sway. How they do that is by minimizing lateral expansion. What they do is they work independently, but they work together. How they work together is when your body rolls one way, the spring compresses. When this spring compresses, it's going to want to expand. As the other one is stretched, it's going to want to pull. So as one's pushing, the other one's pulling to keep your body upright. Each one of our springs is going to have a 5,400 pound weight capacity. They're going to work independently for all centered loads. The good thing about these is they're similar to airbags, except you don't have to worry about monitoring your air, running airline tubes, or anything else. You put them in, there's maintenance free, you don't have to do anything else. The springs are going to be constructed of a microcellular urethane. It's going to resist damage caused by oils, road salts, and UV rays. The springs are going to be connected to your frame and to your suspension. Now that we've gone over some of the features, let me show you how to get these installed. First thing we need to do to start our installation, we're going to use a jack stand to support our axle. We need to get our back end up in the air and take our rear wheels off. Next thing we need to do is we need to put together our springs. The top of our spring is going to look like this. This is going to be our top bracket. You'll notice there's 4 holes. These 2 holes are only going to fit in 2 of them. We'll go ahead and line our holes up. You're going to have 3 bolts in your kit that look like this. 2 of them are going to go on the top bracket, 1 is going to go on the bottom bracket. Go ahead and put that in place. We'll take a 9/16 socket and we'll tighten them down. Our lower bracket, there's only 1 hole on the bottom of our spring. We're going to loosely install this one right now. That's what we need to do. As you'll notice, there's a little hook right here. On your driver's side, this little hook is going to go on the inside of our spring assembly. On the passenger side, that hook will be on the outside. And what we're going to do is we're going to set it. You can see our 2 U-bolts. This bracket is going to sit right here, and that hook is going to hook around the back side of this U-bolt. So it's going to sit just like this. So once we figure out where our bracket's going to sit, we're going to slowly pull this off and we're going to tighten this lower bracket down. Go ahead and put it back in place. Once you get it tightened down, you'll notice your lower bracket's got this kind of a U shape or cutout here. That's going to fit over top of your spring here. So we'll set it down like that. I'm going to make sure that these are sitting flush. They're not up against anything. Next thing I'm going to do is what I need to do is this lower hole in the bracket, we need to make sure it's 6 inches from the top of our frame rail. But we need to do that on both sides. You'll notice how our spring kind of slants down. That's because we have our vehicle up in the air. So just make sure we got it as even as possible on both sides. We're going to go about to the center of the hole. I'll take just a paint marker. If you have a yellow marker or anything, that'll mark that spot. Now I'm going to measure the other side and make sure I got 6 inches before I do any drilling. So it looks like we're pretty good. Okay. I'm going to use those as my marks to drill holes. Now what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to drill our lower holes first. We're going to put our hardware in, and then we're going to drill the top 2 holes on each side. My hole is going to be drilled to a 3/8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this to make my mark. Take a smaller drill bit to drill a pilot hole. One thing I forgot to mention, before you start drilling, just make sure you reach up back there and check for any wiring, anything like that may be back there in the way. Once you have one of your lower holes drilled, you're going to have 8 bolts in your kit that look like this, and you're going to have some nuts that look like this. We're going to take one of them, go ahead and insert it into that bottom hole. We'll go ahead and loosely put the nut in on the back side. We'll go ahead and take another measurement for this side to make sure our spot is still the same.
If we have to remark it, we'll remark it, and then we'll drill that hole. Next thing we need to do, we have this loosely installed. We have our bolts, each bolt down on the bottom. You're gonna have a bracket like this, and you're gonna have 2 long bolts. This is gonna go like this on the bottom of your spring pack. Your 2 long bolts, you're gonna have a square hole in this lower bracket on your spring. You may have to tap on these a little bit to get them right past this edge, but we're gonna take our bracket again. You want that U-shaped right here, this flat part to go hit the bottom of the spring assembly. So we'll just pass our bolts through the 2 holes. We'll thread a nut on each side. Next, we'll take our 9/16 socket. We're gonna tighten our 2 long bolts. First, we wanna make sure we tighten them evenly. As you can see, you are gonna need an extension here. Another thing I didn't mention is you are gonna need a long socket too. Don't use a short one because it won't reach. Once we have our lower bracket tightened, we're going to take a 9/16 socket and wrench. We're going to go ahead and tighten the bolts in our lower holes on our top bracket. Once we have those tightened down, we're going to repeat the process for drilling our holes. We're going to do it on the top holes on each side. Once you get one side installed, you're going to repeat the process on the other side. That'll do it for a look at and installation on the SumoSprings Maxim Custom Helper Springs for the rear axle, part number SSR-187-54-1 on our 2018 motorhome on our F-53 chassis.